This time on STV, we're back in the province of New Brunswick, where we've got good people, great times, awesome trails, and even a ghost story for you. STV is brought to you by Zox Helmets, a clear view for every adventure. Ultimax Belts, performance driven, performance proven. And by Best Western Hotels and Resorts. Everybody loves a good ghost story, and for this trip to New Brunswick, we're going to start with one from here in Dungarvan about the Dungarvan Hooper, a local legend of murder and mystery that happened a long time ago at a lumber camp not far from here. Now, to tell the story, we're connecting with Dana Biggs, who's not only the local Snowmobile Club president, but has also heard the blood-curdling call of the Hooper.
In a lumber camp one day, while the crew were far away, and no one there but cook and boss alone, a sad tragedy took place, and death won another race, for the young cook swiftly passed to the unknown. When the crew returned that night, what a sad scene met their sight. There lay the young cook, silent, cold, and dead. Death was in his curling hair, in his young face pale and fair, while his knapsack formed a pillow for his head.
The tale of the Dungarvan Hooper is an old story that transpired out in Dungarvan. And it was about a cook who had his life savings with him, and he was lured into the woods and murdered for his money. And so the tale says the night of that he was murdered, the camp was plastered with screams and shrieks, and it continued on till spring, until the loggers were scared and left. So back when I was probably 4 or 5 years old, my parents took me back to Dungarvan thinking it'd be funny, and we were back there, and something did make really scream. It'll put the hair right up on your neck and your arm, and that is nowhere to lie. It's very distinctive.
Pale and ghastly was each face. We shall leave this fearful place, for this camp unto the demons does belong. Ere the dawning of the day, we will hasten far away from where the dark Dungarvan rolls along, where the dark and deep Dungarvan sweeps along.
I don't know, that story seems legit, but I don't really believe in ghost stories. But what I do believe in is the great snowmobiling here in the province of New Brunswick, which we're going to get to right now. Just have patience, or as they say in the Miramichi dictionary, keep your shirt on, because it's frosty pumpkins this morning, which means it's a cold morning, which means the trails are going to be in really good shape. And right now, I feel like a fart in a mitt, which is a name given to somebody who's fidgety, restless, and unable to remain still for more than a minute, because right now, I want to go ride. For this adventure back to New Brunswick, we've come to an area that we've not spent a lot of time in before, finding ourselves basically in the geographic center of the province. To get the story on this area, we connected with Carrie Price to tell us more about the Upper Miramichi region.
So this is the Greater Miramichi region, and we're pretty central in the province. We're a large territory as well, so we got lots of snowmobiling trails, lots to do here. We're surrounded by the great outdoors, and of course, though, we pride ourselves on the snowmobile trails. The Miramichi region is pretty central in the province, so actually Provincial Trail 42 will take you from the capital region right to Miramichi for, I think it's about 177 kilometers. And then actually Provincial Trail 52 will bring you from the southern part of the province, Moncton area, straight up to Miramichi, and I think that's about 187 kilometers. So, you know, we're very central. From Miramichi region, you can also go north on Trail 58, I believe it is, right up to the Christmas Mountain area, Serpentine area. For places to stay in the region, especially when you're snowmobiling, there's lots along provincial trails, local trails. You get a variety of everything. You can have Airbnb, hunting cabin style, or you can go to a higher end, you know, home type chalet, or a place like Wilson's where you get the lodge and cottages and suites as well. Lots of stuff right on the trail. In the city of Miramichi, there's lots of hotels, so, you know. Actually, a fun fact about the city of Miramichi, the old Anderson Bridge, which used to be a sketchy bridge to drive on, is now going to be transitioned into ATV and snowmobile trail. So yeah, really, you just have to come once to the Miramichi region and you'll be back.
Coming to New Brunswick has become an annual tradition for STV, and so far this trip is on par with all the others we've made here. But what makes every trek to this province so special is getting to reconnect with the friends that we've made here over the years and making new friends on each visit. Friendships and group camaraderie are one of the things that makes snowmobiling such a great wintertime activity. And having a place like Wilson Sporting Camps to call home for just a few days adds to the atmosphere and experience of any adventure. Coming up after the break, we're going to be chatting with Carl Wilson, the owner of the lodge we're staying at that's been in his family since 1855. But first, did you know every 60 seconds a minute passes? Straight fact right there. And before the break, we've got another straight fact about the province of New Brunswick coming at you from Neil Hodge.
New Brunswick is 85% forested, making it Canada's greenest province or territory. Outdoor adventure and huge untouched wilderness are really our calling cards here.
This segment is brought to you by Mike Bravner, Depends on the Pay. On STV, we come across all kinds of lodges, but this one is different. This lodge, Wilson Sporting Camps, is New Brunswick's oldest outfitter and has been in business 170 years since 1855 and been in the Wilson family the whole time. Here's a conversation I had with Carl Wilson, who's fifth generation on this property. But before we get to that, here's one more straight fact with Neil Hodge.
New Brunswick is home to the Bay of Fundy, which has the highest tides in the world. Depending on where you are on the Bay of Fundy, the differential between high and low tide could be anywhere from 35 to 56 feet. A 56-foot differential would be like similar to a 5-story building.
Our family immigrated from Scotland here in 1803, and in 1855, a young lady by Agnes Wilson started an outfitting business. She was in her early 20s. She wasn't married, had no kids, which was not the typical scenario back in 1855. So she started an outfitting camp, fishing for salmon and trout and a little bit of hunting as well. Flash forward to around 1920, my great-great-grandfather Willard Wilson took over the business at her homestead that's about a kilometer down the road from here. And it was back in them days, he had a boarding house, general store, the post office, ran a small sawmill there, and the rail line ran right through the property as well. So he took over the fly fishing business, and it's been passed down through the generations to my great-grandfather, my grandfather, my father Keith, and now I'm here running it with Keith on board as well. Traditionally, we've been strictly just an outfitting camp, fly fishing for Atlantic salmon. And until about the early 2000s, we moved up the road and built this lodge that we're in here today, and started the process of kind of diversifying. So we did that. We renovated and added cabins and opened up what we call a four-season resort now. So we do a little bit of everything. Of course, we're here snowmobiling today, so the winter months is we're located right on the Provincial Trail 42, right along the Miramichi River. It runs right through the property, so guests can ride right off the trail right to the doorstep of their cottage. Winter months as well, we do family vacations. We developed a snowshoe trail and a sliding hill for tubes, and we do a little bit of everything. It's not just snowmobiles, it's family vacations. Are all kind of a part of what we do here today.
Accommodations here at Wilson's are the traditional lodge feel. You've got outbuildings, cabins, and of course you've got the main lodge with rooms in it as well. But one of the unique things here is if you rent the main lodge, you get everything. I mean, you get the run of the place. You've got access to the commercial kitchen for cooking, you've got access to the common areas for eating and entertaining, but most importantly, the entertainment room.
Essentially, when you're here, we're in your home. It's your facility, and we like to try to make everybody feel comfortable, and everybody's hopefully when they leave here, they're friends, if not family. It's us East Coasters, I like to think we got a kind of a unique personality, and we're good people, and we look at everybody as a friend, and like I say, when you leave, we'll give you a handshake and a pat in the back, and if you're real lucky, maybe a hug on the way out, and hope to see you next time. I mean, you guys were a prime example of that. Hats off to Simon. He's been my little helper around the kitchen. He's been doing dishes and buttering the toast for me in the morning time, so it don't go unnoticed for us, and we certainly appreciate it. So.
The Wilson family has been rolling out their welcome mat by the Miramichi River since 1855. And let me tell you, hospitality runs in their blood. Work, play, or do absolutely nothing, this place has everything you need to kick back, relax, and enjoy the adventure of a lifetime from your own cabin. It's the kind of place where your stress is left at the door and the only thing you're focused on is enjoying your time here. And the best part? Main Provincial Trail 42 is literally right outside of your cottage door. Talk about convenient. Wilson's has all the perks. Tons of trailer parking, heated garages for your sled, because no one likes frozen suspension, and a grocery pickup service that'll have your cottage stocked with food and drinks before you even get there. And with cozy cottages and private hot tubs waiting for you, let's just say, if you're not here, you're missing out. Coming up after the break, we're going to speak with the Executive Director of Snowmobile Motoneige NB, Ralph. But before the break, here's another straight fact with Neil.
To put it into perspective, the amount of water that comes into the Bay of Fundy for one tide change is equal to the amount of water that flows over Niagara Falls in 1 year and 9 months. That's Canada-US sides combined.
This segment is brought to you by Mike Bravner. Have you ever heard the story?
Riding in New Brunswick has been nothing short of incredible. The trails here are stunning, and it's clear how much work goes into them to make them the way they are. It's truly a work of art. From groomer logistics to making sure everything runs smoothly, it's a delicate balance. Without the help of all of our volunteers, this truly wouldn't be possible. We can't thank them enough.
Well, the unique thing about Wilson's here is that they're right on the trail system. I mean, you literally overlook the trail system. So if you're here and you want to go for a short ride, stay in the area, you can jump on the trail, you can go towards Blackville and do a loop back around here. It's maybe about 3 hours. It's not a long ride, it's about 200 kilometers. You get a variety. When you leave here and you start towards the Provincial Trail 58, you're through forested areas, clear-cut areas, some open areas, some roadways. It's a mixed bag as well, and then when you get to the Smith Forks in the Christmas Mountains area, it's more of a straight run on forest roads. If you leave from the gateway from here where we are today at Wilson's Lodge, you're going to need fuel before you get to Mount Carlton Lodge itself, so you need serpentine for fuel and accommodations and food. The Lear's been there for a long number of years, and you're right. I mean, he gets fuel, he brings fuel in, all his groceries he has to go off-site. He's at least 30 kilometers off the beaten path to a main highway to get to his groceries and his fuel. So if it wasn't for that man, the Christmas Mountains would be a really hard place to navigate. Well, just an example, at the Toronto show this year, my first year there, I talked to some people that were asking about the province and why we've come. I told them we've got a good trail system, we've got a great bunch of volunteers. The trails are always managed well. They're opened, generally groomed every other day. And one of the things that we thought was pretty unique, especially being in Toronto, we're only about 10 hours till you get to the entryway of Toronto and Evanston. And you drop your sled there and you can ride for 4 or 5 days.
Before we start today's ride, we've got another straight fact about this amazing province.
There are 141 covered bridges in Canada, and 58 of them are in New Brunswick. And New Brunswick also boasts the Heartland Covered Bridge, which is the longest covered bridge in the world at 1,282 feet.
With its central location, the Upper Miramichi region can get you to all the hot spots in the province to ride. Places like the Christmas Mountains and then into Mount Carlton with a spectacular lodge there, and of course, up and down to Serpentine Lodge, one of my favorite rides in this part of the province. But no matter which direction of the compass you point the skis towards, you have near limitless choices of places to ride to, and plenty of routes as well to expand ride days, shorter or longer, depending on how far the group wants to travel. Our ride today isn't a high miler, and I'm okay with that because it's a little crispy out here, and us TV folk, well, we're pretty soft. But it doesn't matter, I'm still looking forward to the ride today because we're going to be headed to the Mitchell Brook warm-up shelter, which is going to be a great spot to warm up to in the middle of the day, but also we're going to have a cookout lunch when we're there. But before we get to all of that, straight facts for you. Did you know everything in this world is either a potato or not a potato? And we've got another one about this province coming at you from Neil.
The scuba diving tank, the foghorn, the snowblower, the sardine can, the thermal window pane, compound steam engine are some New Brunswick inventions.
But the Dungarvan Hooper was the terror of the night.
This trip has once again reminded me of how good the ride experience here is, and today's ride to a shelter for a cookout lunch is one that I'm looking forward to. To tell us more about the trail system here, we connect with Kyle Good, Trails Manager for Snowmobile Motoneige NB.
But that Dungarvan Hooper was the terror of the night. For when this monster he came forth, the rest did disappear. Believe me, my good people, it did banish all our fear. It left us but the one to fight. We felt very sure we could beat any hooper that was on Dungarvan shore.
Anybody that's coming out of province, that's coming in, you're going to go by a shelter at some point, no matter what. They're unavoidable. They're everywhere. On some trips, you're going to go by 1 or 2, and other trips you might go by 6 or 7. And we've got shelter sizes that vary. For the most part, they're generally donated by locals of the area. We've got some shelters that are just a simple 8x8 with a fire pit and a chance to warm up and get out. And then we have a few shelters, like the one standing behind us, that's just a little bit more elaborate, where it'll hold a few more people and you know, a chance maybe to have a little get-together on a trail. It ends up being a meeting spot for some people, for some areas. You know, that Friday night or that Saturday night after supper, let's go for a run. Of course, the very first question when you enter one of our shelters or clubhouses, a lot of people say, so where are you coming from? So it's an opportunity, of course, to meet new people. It's an opportunity, you know, to introduce yourselves, especially if you're a New Brunswicker, because we'll talk to just about anybody. Whether you're from Nova Scotia, PEI, Quebec, or Ontario, there's always a friendly face to greet you at the door and give you any helping hand that you need.
The clubhouses and shelters are a great asset to have out on the trails, and it would be a shame if you missed the opportunity to stop in at one if you ever find yourself riding the trails in New Brunswick. Taking time out at the Mitchell Brook shelter to enjoy the warmth of the sun that has taken the bite out of a chilly morning, and to have a feast of moose burgers provided by Ralph and some tube steaks provided by Costco, along with these excellent trails, make this one of my best days on the snow this year. I wish we had 4 or 5 more days just like this ahead of us. Coming up after the break, this trip, unfortunately, is coming to an end. But before we break, here's another straight fact with Neil about this amazing province.
Marilyn Monroe, Tom Selleck, Prince Charles, Ted Williams, they would be some of the many famous people that have gone fishing on the Miramichi River over the years.
This segment is brought to you by CAMSO. We've been across the snowbelt to go snowmobiling, and it's been a great adventure for us with STV. But even though we've been all over, there's not too many places that we keep going back to again and again like we have the province of New Brunswick. But what makes this place so special is the people.
This trip has been absolutely incredible. Our crew here, Kyle, Andre, Ralph, and Dana, have gone above and beyond to make sure each day on the snow was a success. They showed us all the hot spots and hidden gems this region has to offer. And the best part? Here's another straight fact with Neil.
New Brunswick is Canada's only officially bilingual province. English and French are both official languages in this province. New Brunswick has Canada's warmest saltwater beaches. In fact, the warmest saltwater beach is north of Virginia. New Brunswick is the third largest exporter of maple syrup products in the world. St. John, New Brunswick is Canada's oldest incorporated city. It dates back to 1785.
A huge shout out to Carl at Wilson Sporting Camps, who made sure we were completely taken care of, from delicious meals to fully stocked cabins with everything we could possibly need. And let's not forget Carrie, who made sure we were up to speed on all the local legends and slang. Talk about a crash course in New Brunswick culture. The locals have been so welcoming, greeting us everywhere with open arms. Hats off to New Brunswick. This has been truly an unforgettable trip.
So that's about it for this trip to New Brunswick. But before we go, I wanted to leave you with this. If you're looking to bring a group to an outstanding destination, you simply got to come here because it doesn't get any better than this. Promise all to God, which, according to the meaning in the Miramichi dictionary, means honest. I'm telling the truth. STV has been brought to you by Yamaha, revs your heart. The Toronto International Snowmobile, ATV, and Power Sports Show. And by Elka, your ride, your way. Hey, thanks for watching. If you like what you've seen, please hit that like and subscribe button.